to Wrap 4, Omar Macy here. Today we're going to cover the technical aspects of the 468. Here we have the 468 set up with the Troy handguard setup. So this is a Troy setup with Magpul furniture as well as the internal Airstock 13CI Airstock on it. The first 468 release will be a standard open bolt blowback mechanical system, unregulated. That will be readily upgradable to a closed bolt system, so you just have to replace a few components. Again, how that operates, right now the bolt and bolt carrier, when the upper and lower receiver are put together, it's basically joined with the striker. When you have a closed bolt, basically the bolt and bolt carrier will run independently from the striker, so that way you're able to have a closed bolt. So again, as many of you who know with closed bolt systems like the pump guns or any things, you do have a better accuracy. Partly the reason is that you're not launching a projectile into the chamber at the same time you're shooting. So you're actually shooting a projectile that's in a set position. So that way you're just using an air blast to drive a projectile. It's basically just a lot more consistent way of and method of firing, and it avoids any tumble of the projectile in the barrel. So again, this has been seen. This is not anything new. Closed bolt systems have normally had better accuracy as well as better shot efficiency as well, air efficiency, because again, you don't have any escape of air coming out from it. So again, first release will be upgradable to closed bolt as well as a regulated system. So you're able to add a high pressure regulator to get a better shot count, better consistency, as well as, you know, just generally having a just a better platform. Again, we decided to do a mechanical system, having all the trigger controls, firing controls in the lower receiver, just as is found in the M4 system and AR-15 platforms. And this is also seen in other platforms such as the AK-47, the again, I mean SIGs. Most firearm platforms this day and age have all their firing controls in their lower receiver, just as we're doing here. And again, that's the reason we chose this. We looked at many different valve systems to see what the best basically training platform we could find, and this was truly the best that we found so far, having a mechanical system that works just like the firearm. Again, for training purposes, for milsim, for yeah, again, I mean military simulation, of course, milsim, you want to have something as close as possible to your firearm or your actual weapon system. So train as you fight. This is the basis behind this system. Okay. So again, once you upgrade to a regulated version, then you're able to have better shot count versus what it is now. So even at this point right now, it's quite consistent as far as the shot count that you have with the internal buttstock. Many of you had the T68 Gen 7. You were able to get anywhere from 5 to 7 magazines worth out of it, and of course that's depending on your settings. So you can set this so it just always goes bang, or you can basically balance between the valve spring and the drive spring so you get better shot consistency, but you also have to be more mindful of the O-rings that you have. You have good compression and you have a good working system. Air tank options for this, you're able to use something like a 13CI, a 5-ounce CO2 tank, or perhaps by putting the solid remote line adapter, you can put something like the Magpul buttstocks or any mil-spec buttstock options that we have available, or anything out there that's available for the AR-15 for that matter. So again, the mag was interchangeable for several reasons. Number one, T68 mag configurations, different mags that are out there in the industry, they all have a different setup, such as the D-mags. So D-mags work in a different way, they operate in a different way. So if you want to put this in there, even though it does physically fit in there, it doesn't operate in the same way, therefore it requires its own mag well. Okay, just to confirm once again, so the first release of the 468 will be an open bolt mechanical blowback system. As we go on, and that will be upgradable to closed bolt and a regulated system. Okay. Again, as far as e-trigger will be available for all variations of the 468. Again, some countries do not allow full auto, so therefore you may want to have a ramping option, or, you know, I mean, a response trigger option or something. So e-trigger will be available for all variations of the 468. When we get to mechanical full auto, however, I did explain before that you do need a whole new lower receiver. Again, it doesn't operate in the same way, therefore you need to treat it in a different way. So We cannot fit those components inside this low receiver. But you can keep everything else. So if you have a whole setup of your buttstocks, air systems, handguards, you just be able to drop it onto your mechanical full auto low receiver as well. Mechanical full auto. Many of you asked, we did say something about mechanical full auto, so that will be available. But when that does come out, you will need to replace your lower receiver. There is just no way to put those components that you need, the disconnector that you need in the lower receiver as it currently stands to operate that system. But again, that being said, you're able to use all your other components. So if you're upgrading from the first release 468, you're able to upgrade to the mechanical full auto by just replacing your lower receiver. Breakdown, it's really simple. You just take out your, of course, take out your push pins, upper and lower receiver comes out. The 468 is an upper and lower receiver system, just like the AR-15 or M4 series rifles. The push pins remain inside the gun component parts, so you don't have to worry about losing pins out or anywhere on the field or anything, and it just makes it a lot easier. You're able to do things while holding your rifle platform. You're able to crack it open, take out your bolt, inspect it, put it back together. You don't have to worry about where you set the pin or if you dropped it or anything like that. Okay, so this is the lower receiver. You have an upper and lower receiver system. So again, if you wanted to change your configuration from, let's say, perhaps an upper receiver with a longer barrel system and you have your scope sighted in or anything like that, you don't need to worry about changing configuration. You just change your upper receiver. To change the velocity, it's as simple as basically twist locking this device out, okay, and you can get access to it. But since we're here this far, let's go ahead and take everything out. So we have your drive spring, your buffer, velocity adjustment, as well as your guide pin end plug. We can take out the air tank. Your striker just again comes out right out the back here. That pretty much that's a full breakdown to back of valve or your striker velocity adjustment. Okay, to gain access to the front part, we did separate the lower receiver into two-part system. So this is magwell, which is interchangeable. It's also on a pin just like the front takedown pin and rear takedown pin, so it's extremely easy to remove. You push it from one side, it also remains on the magwell, and at this point you're able to slide off the magwell. So if you want to change between different magwell setups, this is how you would do it. As far as how to remove the barrel, if you are running the 468 with free float handguard as shown in this setup or any of the setups that I have up on the wall here, yes, the barrel is free floating, and you just basically unscrew it out this way, okay, just like that. Now again, that being said, since this is an M4 style system, it does use a delta ring assembly. For the base models, we will set it out just as an M4 or an AR-15 rifle would be. So that right there, it's the A-frame front sight is attached to the barrel, which is in turn attached to the front part of the handguard and to the delta ring assembly. So depending on the setup that you're getting, whether it's free float or not free float, that would be the answer to that question. So the barrel can be free floating or it can be part of the handguard assembly. Even so, if it is part of the handguard assembly, you just basically crack the receiver open as you would by removing or pushing out the rear push pin, and you're able to run a squeegee through the whole receiver chamber area and barrel as well. Again, you just have to remove your buttstock. Very easy to remove, and this, of course, this is when you have the 13 CI. It's even easier to do. You just give this right here a turn. You take your velocity adjustment out. You can actually do this one-handed while you're holding, or if this is on a sling, just twist this out however many turns you want to do to adjust your velocity. Put it right back in, and again, and this is very useful. So if you're about to chrono or something else, you don't have to worry about taking out tools. It's all integrated within your platform itself. Because of the way the system is set up, the trigger guard is integrated into the pistol grip, and this pistol grip is very closely related or very similar to the Gen 7 T68 trigger grip. So no, in this case you will not be able to replace the trigger guard. We are considering for the full auto version to make, since we do need a new low receiver altogether, we are considering making that part removable. Okay, earlier in the video we talked about the high and low pressure systems. So again, this system basically in its first release and second release will be upgradable to a low pressure system, but currently, or at least the first release, will be a standard high pressure blowback system. Again, you can have different options of regulating it, so you can increase your velocity, increase your shot count, and basically increase the amount of shots you can get from a 13 CI or 5-ounce CO2 tank and so forth. So to answer your question, yes, we will have the option to make this a low pressure system as well. DMAG compatibility, yes, absolutely. All our basically marker platforms, anything from the mag kits, previous generations of the T68, the 468, they will all have compatibility with the DMAGs. These will be our new flagship magazine systems, as well as magazine systems that we're developing from. So things like the continuous rounds will share the same magwell and same system, so you don't have to change magwells between the future of our magazine system. So yes, the 468 does come equipped with a DMAG magwell. Okay, something interesting as far as the DMAG magwell that we did, we also gave it an ambidextrous mag release system. We haven't covered that before, but again, so you're able to access your mag release from either your right-handed shooter standard push button, or as a left-handed shooter you're able to access it from this side as well. This is actually pretty neat idea. So I mean, you're able to, if you're doing the switch, it's a good way of accessing it. So I mean, definitely the option of having the ambidextrous mag release there is there for that reason. So yes, DMAGs will be available for the 468. Although we did cover this earlier in the video, yes, to do full auto on the system you can use an E-trigger. So an E-trigger will be available for all variations of this, or the upcoming mechanical full auto lower receiver. Again, depending on the legality in your country or what you're trying to do. So for example, if the game that you're playing, the field you're playing with doesn't allow full auto, an E-trigger would be preferable. If you're doing military simulation or training, perhaps the mechanical full auto low receiver will be your best option. So things like in training, so over the beach capabilities, if you're going to be coming out of coming out of water or something, E-trigger is perhaps not your best option, but mechanical full auto would be. So yes, there are options for full auto via mechanical full auto or E-trigger systems for all the 468 generations. Dust cover. You have seen in the previous videos that I had a dust cover on there. That dust cover was purely looks. Okay, I mean it was not functional per se. So when you pull your charging handle, it didn't really unlock it or remove it for that matter. However, upon the release of the 468, the dust cover will interact with the lock bolt system to allow you to lock out or basically disengage the lock bolt, so that way you can do dry firing, or perhaps you want to dry fire to unscrew your air source. So yes, definitely the dust cover will be an option for the 468 that will be meant to interact completely with the lock bolt. Yes, a chamber indicator. Definitely for the 468, the need for a chamber indicator, we saw that it was there. Especially for military training, you want to know when you have a round in the chamber. Part of the situation with the lock bolt, if you don't know what the lock bolt is already, the lock bolt is a mechanism that if the ball is not properly chambered, ball or shape projectile for that matter, if it's not properly chambered, the gun will not shoot. Basically it does a dry fire. Okay, to show you, this is the 468 with magazine, DMAG magazine. So right here I'm going to go ahead and dry fire it. If you hear that click, basically the bolt did not go past it because there's no round in there to activate it. So we saw a very important need on the 468, or basically any lock bolt setup system, to have a chamber indicator. Currently, the 468 will be issued with this lock bolt that has a viewing window, so you're able to look in the chamber and see if the lock bolt's deactivated, number one, by the round pressing up against it, and number two, to see if there's a round ready to be shot. Now, there'll also be another variation of this, also available at the same time, so you'll be able to have your shooting stance, look in the chamber area, so basically in this area here, and you'll be able to see whether you're ready to shoot. So again, chamber indicator is huge. It's really important to know that you have a round in there ready to go. Again, there's no reason to go out there and try to be brave and then you just dry fire and somebody will eliminate you. So again, yes, the answer to a chamber indicator will be available upon the release of the 468. Well, the base model, again, as discussed earlier, again, since this is a Delta ring, or basically a mil-spec barrel nut assembly, the base model will come with a composite handguard, A-frame, standard front sight, standard car stock, so, and carry handle. So I mean, basically just a standard M4 AR-15 platform. Okay, barrel threads for the 468 are basically the same barrel threads that were used for the T68 Gen 7 and previous, so it's a spider threaded design. Again, we definitely consider other options, perhaps for a cocker threaded and so forth, but at this time it is spider threaded. As far as a stock model without any handguards, buttstocks, or any accessories, we will be looking at options perhaps for customers who already have all of these items. I mean, definitely we need to make some compatibility, because again, this is a different from any other system that we've previously done, or I believe it's out there in the market, by having the standard barrel nut attachment. So we'll need to make a compatibility part so you can attach your handguard onto it. But we'll definitely be considering making basically stock bare bones system so you can upgrade any of your parts onto it. Yes, improvements to the Gen 7. Even though in its first release it'll be very similar, in fact some parts may be interchangeable, we definitely don't recommend it, and the reason being is that the 468 is being made to a different level of quality. We're making sure that every part interacts within, so talking, let's say the striker interacts with the lower receiver perfectly. We're working on things like the trigger pull. I mean, these are little things that normally not so considered, but again, if you want to have the maximum in a training platform, we're looking at having things like adjustable trigger pull or trigger weight. So there's a lot of improvements being made for the 468 as far as its internals compared to the T68 Gen 7 and previous models. The lock bolt for the existing lock bolt will transfer over to the 468. However, there's a new lock bolt being developed for the 468 that has a chamber indicator. So again, if you want to upgrade and use your existing components, you can, but we definitely recommend that you go with the newest and the products that are catered and tailored for the 468. Yeah, as far as the shell deflector and forward assist on the 468, we decided to omit them from the 468 in its first release, again because we want to give you more options. So if you want to change the platform and perhaps make it fit into a shroud or anything else, shell deflector really sticks out a lot, and the forward assist also sticks out a lot. Now again, in an open mult system, the forward assist really will do nothing for you, so it would just be unnecessary weight added to the receiver. And again, so in when we first thought of this 468, we were going to put a tool inside the forward assist. You know, perhaps you unscrew something out and use that as your tool. But the truth is that the 468 really requires very little tools, if no tools at all, to do most of your major maintenance. So we decided to just go ahead and leave it slab side and not bother with that. Take off any extra weight that you don't need on there. So no, the 468 will not have a forward assist or a shell deflector in its first release. Perhaps in the future we might consider making another upper receiver that has it if you want closer to reality. I mean, if you want to have that really close look to an M4 platform, but at this point, no. The 468, dimensionally speaking, is very close to an M4 or AR-15 platform, but because of the T68 magazine dimensions, it is in between. So it's smaller than AR-10 rifle platform, but it's a little bit bigger than M4 AR-15. Now again, because of the way the magwell is, you will be able to, depending on the type of magazines that are available in the future, you will be able to reduce the overall length of the system or increase it, for that matter, if you want to do a different type of magazine platform, like say like a sniper rifle and so forth. Weight, well, of course, weight is definitely it's user spec. So I mean, in this case we have stainless steel barrels on these. We have a standard Troy spec Picatinny handguard in the front. So this actually setup weighs very close to an actual AR-15. So I mean, depending on what you're going for, you want to go extreme lightweight, you can go ahead and put a carbon fiber barrel on this. If you want to go to closer to reality, you can put a stainless steel barrel on it. And of course, but once configured, you can have about a 6-pound rifle, which is about the same weight of most ARs these days, or you can go a lot lower. You can go something like a 4-pound rifle, which will be a lot closer if you're using composite handguards, composite buttstock, a light barrel. So definitely, depending on what you put on it, you'll be able to obtain the weight differences to either closer to the firearm or closer to a paintball marker. The performance of the 468. Now, of course, this is a very intricate and elaborate question that we can get into here. So you have different air options as far as how you're going to operate your valve, how you're going to adjust how it works. So again, if let's talk about a simple mechanical system. You want to get more air efficiency, then you have to balance your valve springs with your velocity springs and basically get the best efficiency out of it. And it's basically out of the box stage. It will be a very robust system that will work. It'll go bang pretty much every time. I mean, that's the point after all. But if you want to fine-tune it even more, then you actually have to access your components and adjust the right, again, you have to balance your valve between your valve and your velocity rate settings. As far as getting even more air efficiency and getting more out of your marker system, well, then there'll come things like regulators. You have to regulate your system to even get a better air efficiency, higher shot count, and all of this will be available for the 468, of course. As far as accuracy and shot consistency, well, of course, that couple different things to adjust and to tune your weapon. In this case, you're able to put the closed bolt system. So closed bolt system is by nature more accurate because you're not shooting a paintball out and it's not tumbling on its way out. It's actually shooting from a stationary position. So many pump players have experienced this already with closed bolt systems where they actually use less air to propel the projectile, and also because they're shooting from a stationary position, the round is not tumbling down, so they get better accuracy. So yes, you can expect definitely better accuracy when you upgrade to a closed bolt. You can also expect a very high degree of accuracy from this platform, because one of the things that we brought over from the T68 Gen 7 is the accuracy that it had because of the low tolerances in this, between the bolt system and the receiver, and we transfer that right over onto this, and you combine that with bore matching with your paintballs, and you can have a very accurate paintball marker or training system. Sling attachments. The receiver for the 468 has a quick detach sling, basically integrated quick detach sling attachments on either side. Okay. Well, something that I do want to mention here, the quick detach sling mounts for this will be proprietary for the 468. However, those will work with any other standard QD quick detach sling mount. However, so it's not backwards compatible. Ours will fit on the rest, but the rest will not fit on this one. Okay, but again, it's very important to have a sling attachment rear in this part, especially when you're doing single point. It's very comfortable. It's very easy to get it out of the way. So, as far as the question, yes, we will have a quick detach option for the 468. Color options for the 468. When it's first released, it's going to be black anodized, Type 3 hard coat, black anodized, just black. We are looking at doing other options, but at this time we do not know whether that's going to take place, perhaps in some special order or so forth, or we might actually do a production run, but at this point we don't know. As far as using this same upper and lower receiver with the trigger controls, sear, disconnector, everything on the lower receiver, we're definitely expanding on this. We're going to be doing a whole lineup of different platforms. Again, at this point it's still, let's call it a hypothetical stage. We are looking at different options to do, but again, having this, I want to call it technology, or using this platform or this way that it's configured, we're able to do pretty much any standard rifle system that's out there and it's been used for the past 50 years or so. As far as upgrading from any model, the Gen 7 or any previous models, at this point we don't know exactly how any trade-ins or anything is going to be done, but we'll definitely explore and see what options we can have available by the time the 468 is released. But again, as I explained earlier in the video, because of the tolerances, because of how the components will be made for the 468, we definitely recommend that if you are going to be running the 468, you use components designed for it, manufactured for it, and that have really been tested and put through the paces for the 468. Well, as far as how you configure your weapon system, I mean, the sky's the limit. Basically anything that you can add on to a AR-15 system, you can add on to your upper receiver. So depending on how you want to set it up, you want to set it up as basically a varmint rifle with a longer barrel, long handguard. You want to do a scope version. I don't know. I mean, all options for the AR or M4 systems will be available for this system. As far as making a different type of setup, like a longer or a larger caliber model, again, as discussed earlier, we definitely have ideas, and we would have some prototypes available for just to show you. That's a great place to you know, check out some of our hypothetical or, you know, perhaps ideas that we're toying with, but we don't have any plans at this time to make a different caliber version of this other than just setting it up in however an AR-15 or M4 can be set up. .468, again, most of its main components, they're all CNC machined, so you're talking about lower receiver, mag wells, upper receiver. I mean, this whole thing is CNC machined, eliminating casting in as many places as possible. Again, so we can get a better accuracy of and integrity of the weapon system as well. So the closer we keep our tolerances, the better system we will get, and we found that the best way to do that, of course, is the CNC machining. We no longer have a clamshell design. This is, again, upper and lower receiver. These are all made from basically solid blocks of material that they're all CNC machined. Quality of the materials are basically aerospace grade, so you're looking at 60-61 aluminums for the most part. So yeah, I mean, that's how we're looking at manufacturing these, and that's how they're being done. Alright, as far as the base price for the 468, we're definitely looking at having something very similar to the Gen 7 T68 price, basically model breakdown, how that works. So again, look online, see what those prices are, and you'll pretty much have the same picture of what you're looking at when you go to this. Of course, the sky's the limit. The more you put on it, the more real firearms grade components you put on it, the price will definitely go up. So I mean, definitely consider that when you're setting up your platform. But there's quite a few options for this. I mean, there's anything from the entry level to the full professional grade that you're actually able to transfer this from your firearm back and forth, or perhaps you want to have the exact same duplicate of your training platform as you would have on your real firearm. So again, train as you fight, so you may want to do that as well. So definitely, but as far as pricing, that's how it'll be based and how it'll be worked out. Next thing, as far as release dates. A release date, we will not be issuing out a release date for these systems. They are in production. As soon as we have them available and ready, we'll go ahead and post up that information, but no release dates. We don't have that out for you. I mean, think definitely with things in the past like D-mags and stuff like that, we definitely want to keep it and do it differently this time. I mean, we're working really hard to get all these products out. We really are excited about it. I mean, we really want to start seeing these all over the place. We saw them at NWAR. I mean, they were awesome. I think everybody who's had the chance to use these actually has had a really great time. As far as training for us, what we've been doing with it, it's just awesome. I mean, we really like this platform. We like where it's headed. And as soon as it's ready, we'll get it out to you. All right, well, thanks guys. Thanks for watching. I mean, as far as any questions that you may have, any questions you have about the 468 or anything that you have for me personally, Omar, you know what? I set up a Facebook account. It's a perfect avenue for us to talk about anything technical, anything related to 468, new products perhaps. And it is facebook.com/MacyWorks. We'll be showing some sneak peeks at basically possible new designs will be coming out. And you know, as well as other things, perhaps any suggestions you may have for the designer, you know, to come out with something new, or any upgrades or features you want to see in our future systems, is a great place for it. So again, thanks for watching. Have a good day.